this is a good tune-up here, Jacob, for everybody who's getting ready to run Indianapolis in a couple of months.
I'd imagine that, and we've got IIS later this week with another 50 laps on top of this one at this same track here. So it's certainly a good time to get a feel for how your super speedway program's going, get an idea of how you can get your car to work in the draft behind other cars, slicing and dicing. People talk about how the Highline in Indy's a bit tough to navigate, and you certainly got a couple Highlines to work with here, so we'll see what they got.
Absolutely. And speaking of what everybody's got, Jacob, everybody's got a qualifying time up on the board. On the pole, 223.1109 miles an hour. Marco Aurelio Brazil. Outside of him, Robert Malechka III. The King will start second. The second row, Matt Taylor and Jesper Orman. Row 3 finds AJ Musselman and Maddie Sinclair. Muhammad Omir is going to start 7th next to Nick Sudik in 8th. Matt Hollyball and Daniel Durazo are going to go 9th and 10th. Logan Edwards, Treston Fortson, 2 mainstays. They qualify 11th and 12th. The General, Kevin Burrell, last year's champion, he'll start 13th. Lilac Zier, 14th. Kyle Clinworth, our good friend Clindy, he's going to go 15th. Mitch Welker is going to be 16th. Jason Brophy, obviously, with a slow lap. Not taking time, Jacob Oster, Hamilton Akabuezi, Phil Kraus, Alex Van de Zandt, Brendan Lichtenberg, and Rashad Craig. So we've got some heavies that have elected to start in the back here.
Yeah, I've seen this same song, same dance here a couple times, especially at like Michigan and Auto Club with a lot of these big names, as you say. Start from the back, working their way through the field, getting a feel for being able to save some fuel. See what other cars are doing in terms of running lines, where they can make passes, where they can't. Where are they able to generate their runs? It's good practice for when it comes down to the end of it, seemingly.
It is, and it can be. The risk that you run there, though, if you start in the back, Jacob, is always getting caught up in a mess, not of your own making. These cars are extremely close together, and so if you choose to start in the back, as we see these cars roll off, if you choose to start in the back, you run the risk of being caught up in a mess that's not of your own making. There's your front row, Marco Brazil and Robert Malechka III. Second row, Matt Taylor and Jesper Orman. AJ Musselman and Maddie Sinclair will make up row number 3. There's Maddie to the outside. Muhammad Omir and Nick Sudik going to be in row 4. Dan the Cat Durazo, Logan Edwards, row 5. There they go. There's the General, Kevin Burrell. He's not a noted oval racer, and so Kevin just more or less probably looking forward to just trying to finish and get out of here. And there's our man Clindy all the way back in 15th. He's going to start next to Mitch Welker as my internet plays up. We'll get on the flag stand there, but there's Clindy. He's going to start next to Mitch Welker. Those are 2 fast automobiles starting in the back. Looking at this race here, Jacob, you called it 5,100 on the SOF. There's not really a weak link here, is there?
Green.
No, and seemingly not. As we get under green here, Brazil takes no time getting launched out way out in front there, as he tends to do so very often here. And I was talking with Kyle before the race here, and he's convinced he's got a spaceship, man. He was getting bored in practice because his car is so fast. So we'll see if he can make a charge for the field here.
One of the things that's easy to do here, Jacob, as we see, that is the 16 of Muhammad Amir. He's going to the inside of Musselman. He's going to make the dive on Maddie Sinclair as well. One of the things that's easy to do here is you kind of get lulled into a false sense of security. You can think, man, this car is a rocket. And it turns out, once you get into heavy traffic, that it's not so quick. One of the things that we did not mention here in the early broadcast, and we apologize for some audio difficulties, was the weather. It is nice and cool for these guys. 73 in the air, 103 on the track. Had a lot of predictions of pack races here, and Jacob, we're seeing it early. They can hardly get off of one another.
Yeah, and that always tends to be the thing too, right? Is it's you want to stay about as close as you can in the draft because the ever so slight amount, if you've got to lift a little more than you think you need to, you're going to just get sent backwards all the way to the back and potentially lose the draft. It's something I'm as guilty of as anybody, and you just gotta bang your fist on the wheel every once in a while because, boy, howdy, when you lose it, you just want it back.
Right on board with Tristan Fortson. One of the things that you'll see these guys do, California is a little bit different than Michigan in that California is multi-groove, but it's only multi-groove for just a little while. Once the tires get some wear on them, and we're already working lap 4 of 100, once the tires get some wear on them, Jacob, it's very difficult to hold that low line, especially in the pack. And so I would expect as these tires get some heat into them, they start to lose some of that natural stickum. You're going to see some of these guys move their groove up toward the top rather than be right around the bottom. You're going to see multi-groove racing as you're seeing it right there. That's Fortson on the top. He has Muhammad Amir to the bottom. Lilac Zier and the cat Daniel Durazo right behind him. Matt Hollyball is right behind that battle in 10th. And you see the All-American iRacer there. But it'll be interesting to see how long they're all able to stay planted on that bottom. The front 4 are. But Matty Sinclair already moving around trying to hunt that clean air. We watched from Matty.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that earlier on in the run, people are trying to run that lower line to essentially get out of the wake of the cars in front of them. And the longer the run goes on, it's harder and harder to make that lower arc. So you're almost starting to get off center, maybe to the right of the cars in front of you. And then you start creeping closer and closer to that wall for longer through the corner. Because eventually the steering wheel kind of just gets stuck when you're rolling that low line and don't have any stick left. So, and then you just sliding higher into the fence and hoping nobody runs into the back of you.
That's a good call out. And what Matty's doing here can be hugely beneficial. Maybe not right now, but later on in the run. We're also seeing, and we're not really talking about it, but as is standard, the front 2, Malechka and Marco Brazil, they are more or less electing to swap the lead. That's going to do 2 things. One, it allows them to go faster than the cars around them. It protects their position, but it also has a calming effect on the traffic behind them. If the leaders are swapping, it's very difficult to have a fight for the lead because, well, let's face it, you don't want to get up and put yourself in a bad position. A car that's not putting himself in any bad positions, though, is Jacob Oster. He started shotgun tail end Charlie on this thing, did not qualify. Here he is. You're seeing him. He's moving from 10th. He's going around into 9th. Move Jacob Oster, the pro, on up into the 9th position as he battles Muhammad Amir there.
Yeah, and you got to think once Oster gets to the front, it turns into the kind of the king and the squire. I think I've heard it denoted, where it's going to be the Robin Jacobs show of them kind of housing the field around until everybody gets it put together towards the last dozen laps or so to make a charge at him if they even can by that point.
Well, and to be fair, we don't necessarily yet know how this is going to play out. The fuel window here is anywhere from 36 to 37 laps. You see Oster, he's diving to the bottom of Jesper Orman. Not going to quite get the move made on the Rogue Racing entry. But kind of thinking about strategy here. It's very odd to see Robert. Oh, car in the wall. That's going to be. Was that Tristan there that got in the wall off of turn number 4?
I'm trying to catch back up to him. I'm not quite sure who made it up that high.
I believe.
Oh, it looks like we still got Tristan running near the front here. I don't know if he must have been. Maybe if we go back.
It is, and we do thank everybody out there watching for the patience. The FPS is a little bit low today. That's not your eyes deceiving you. Sometimes the updates they don't go through as smoothly as we would like them to, and so sometimes it takes a week or two in a patch to get things leveled out. You're watching Jacob Oster. He's moved to the bottom of Fortson. Now he's working on Matty Sinclair and Matt Taylor coming off at turn 2. Put Oster up to 4th provisionally. Now Taylor's going to take it back on the outside, get the run, and we're 3 wide for 5th.
Yeah, and it looks like Tristan, that wall hit didn't do too much to him because he's right back to fighting for position. So you almost make it wonder if maybe the side pod damage or if anything he even incurred made him faster somehow.
Well, not necessarily made him faster. That if there is any damage, it's not going to show up in the draft. As you know, Jacob, it's only really going to show up if you're by yourself or with one other car. These IR18s in the sim are pretty resilient. You can scuff them up against the fence. You can kind of bang wheels with them a little bit as long as they don't break. Jacob Oster has gone to third now around Taylor and Sinclair. Orman will run fifth. Oster's going to look to the high side of Marco Brazil, and it's not going to take Jacob very long. Now he's going to put it in the middle 3 wide. The i5G machine takes the fastest lap, and he's hunting the lead.
And as soon as you notice him start to charge to the front, he's there. So it's very much, watch a master at work when Oster decides that he needs to turn the wick up all the way from the back to the opening stint.
Now, there's a couple of things that I want everybody to kind of watch out here for. Robert Moleczka III is your leader. Jacob Oster is second. Those two are well known for working with each other. There are some cars that I kind of want to spotlight, and we're going to have to go clear back here to the back of the field to do it. We've got the camera on Nick Sudik in the number 15 machine. Nick is wearing the Fiercely Ford colors this week, it seems. But Sudik, Kevin Burrell, Alex Van de Zandt go back even further. That's Jason Brophy, Phil Kraus, Rashad Craig, Hamilton Akabwezi, and Brandon Lichtenberg all the way there in the back. Those guys are all riding around, and I've got to believe, Jacob, that this crew right here, they're saving a ton of fuel. Would be my guess that Brendan Hyperstar there, he's planning on running this long. As I started to mention earlier, you can get 37 laps full go here, and look at that mess he's looking at up in front of him from the roll hoop. But as you think about Lichtenberg, he's probably sitting back here in Fuel 5, not really running real hard. You do that, you can make 45, 46 laps. This thing stays green. That's a huge advantage for these guys here in the back.
Yeah, and that's always one of those things you got to commit to, and you got to commit to it early, because the more laps that you tick away trying to make that full push work, the less laps you spend saving, and then in turn you get further and further from making a longer run work out. So you kind of got to really commit to it. It's an act of discipline to make that long run work.
Yeah, Brendan Lichtenberg is a veteran of the wars. He's been around a long time, and certainly has the discipline to make that work. Speaking of discipline, the two at the front, no surprise, it's Oster leading, Moleczka and Marco Brazil. One of the other things I kind of wanted to point out to people is Marco Brazil in that third position is known throughout the community for having very, very fast cars, but... And Jacob, are you aware of the but? That's the question. Matt Hollyball comes up through the middle. He was looking at it. He was looking at it on O'Meara and Sinclair there. Almost got collected. But have you discovered the weak spot in Marco Brazil's setups?
I have inferenced it as he likes to run no wing, as in basically that thing's got no downforce on it. So as soon as you get him in like a couple cars of dirty air, it sinks like a brick.
Caution,
we got
out.
yellow.
We got yellow on the speedway. Muhammad Amir has gone to the inside of the backstretch, and let's see what we've got. What we've got happening to Muhammad Amir here. Caution on the speedway, 19 laps of 100. This does come in the pit window, so they can make it on one more stop from here, should they so choose. And here's Amir. He's racing up there for fourth place. He's right behind, and it appears as though he just had a little bit of wheel banging with Matty Sinclair, quite a bit of net code. Around he goes. I don't believe Amir hit anything, though, Jacob.
No, and that's one of the nice things about this track is it's a long way to that inside wall, and even if you do start sliding real close to it, you could honestly, I want to say it was Sheldon Creed a couple years ago, slid it like all the way to the inside wall, spun it back the other way, and managed to hit absolutely nothing. It's definitely a good place to be in when you can keep it out of the fence.
Yeah, of course, that's all paved down there, and so you can slide a good long ways. Everybody is going to pit with the exception of Robert Malechka III. He's going to stay out, so we're going to keep it on. We're going to keep it on Jacob Oster, the leader. He is coming in. Oster is effectively the leader down pit lane. Brazil second on your screen. Then Sinclair, Fortson, Orman, Durazo, Hollybaugh, and Welker. Everybody is going to come to the attention of their pit crews. Everybody goes up on the jacks. I don't think that's a surprise here, Jacob. Everybody's going to grab tires. They will get out of here and head on down the road. Oster appears as though he will win the race off pit road. He will not. Marco Brazil is going to lead off of pit road. Phil Kraus also stayed out. So maybe a little bit of strategy from the two hyperslide teammates there, Jason? Or Jacob, excuse me?
Well, it's possible. It's possible. I'm not saying it's likely, but they may come in the last opportunity they can to try to work together through the field again. I mean, I know that sometimes that's a way to do it. When you've got somebody to work with through the field, it makes it sometimes a little bit easier to get through, but there's also a distinct possibility that they're going to try to run this run short and then run the other two long, but you got so many options, it's almost impossible to tell half the time.
It's one of those things too. There's the shot I was going for. It's one of those too where, looking back at Malechka and Kraus, I wouldn't think that those two are interested in making an extra pit stop, and so my guess is they're going to pull it off here, and indeed they are. They're going to come in, as is Oster, and as is Treston Fortson. So we're going to have multiple takers here. At least 4 of them coming back down pit road. They're going to top it up and get ready to rock and roll here. That's going to hand the lead back to that man, Marco Brazil. Matty Sinclair will be second. Jesper Orman third. Matt Hollybaugh fourth. I'd be willing to bet you a shiny new dime that all they're doing is topping up with fuel here.
Yeah, you would have to think that. At least the guys that came down the first time are going to just be topping up the extra half gallon or whatever it winds up being and going straight back out. Obviously, I would think Rob and Phil are going to take tires here, and then you just got to see what happens when they claw their way back through the field.
Yeah, and pretty much everybody from Treston on back in your running order there did the same thing. So Brophy, Kraus, Craig, Akabuezi, Sudik, and Lichtenberg, and those guys were back there saving anyway, along with Muhammad Amir. They all came in to top them up. We are 21 laps into a 100 lapper here in the IndyCar Open Top Split at California, the old school 2-miler that no longer exists in Fontana, California. Do want to thank Whiplash SimCams for the amazing views. We're getting ready to go back green here, and when we do, we're going to see if we can't find some unique views courtesy of our friends at Whiplash. How about that? Here comes Marco Brazil. He's coming to the attention of Barney. Barney has the green flag in the air. Green flag is out. Racing will resume here at California. 22 of 100 completes.
Like Sinclair's going to make that charge down the backstretch, send it to the inside, right off the bat here, see if he can take it from him.
Yep, Matty Sinclair wants to lead it. He grabs that lead from Marco Brazil going into turn number 3. Brazil's going to tuck right back under him. Jesper Orman has brought the road racing machine into third, and so Orman, he's not sitting still either. And look at fourth place too there, Mr. Collins. That's none other than Matt Hollybaugh. And how about Mitch Walker? He's climbed to 5th.
The best time to make moves is when the cars are the closest together. Now, granted, they don't really get too far away, but you can never doubt the advantage that comes from having them basically about 2 feet in front of you.
Yeah, and everything is magnified on a start or a restart too, as you know. So if you're able to get just a little bit of momentum going toward is that AJ Musselman making a huge move up the inside. He went from a 9th to about 4th in one corner. He'll pull in behind Jesper Orman, maybe. No, I think AJ is going in the front. I think everybody up here has decided they want to save fuel. It's actually an effort, it appears to me right now, to not lead. Let's go on board Marco Brazil and see if we can't See if we can't dope that out, Collins. Here's Marco. He is in 6th gear, and you see him lifting all the way down the front straight, not to go past Matty Sinclair. Now here comes AJ. He's willing to play the rabbit, Matt, or he's willing to play the rabbit, Jacob. He's wanting to lead it. Zier's going to come up there. She's going to go to 2nd.
Yeah, and unfortunately, somebody's got to be at the front of the line, so it sometimes ends up being you. And I think the more willing you are to do it, the less likely you are to get, kind of shuffled out of the way when push comes to shove.
The thing with it is, and this is my kind of take on it. It's a gamble. It cuts a couple of different ways. There's Clindy. He's made his way up to 3rd. But those 3 cars in front, Orman, Zier, Clinworth, Sinclair, Orman, Clinworth, Zier, those cars, AJ Musselman, they've made the decision to go ahead and turn it up and go all the way full push right now. We know that Clindy is extremely aggressive. Jesper is also very aggressive in these races. They're 2 teammates. They know how to get the job done around here. They can just be saying, look, if everybody's going to save, we're willing to burn some more gas. For the others, they're basically gambling. If you're out here running around saving fuel, you're basically gambling that there's going to be no more cautions. Jesper and Clindy, they feel like maybe there is going to be one more.
Yeah, it's throwing the dice at the craps table and hoping you land no snake eyes or however that goes. I don't gamble, but
don't worry about it, Jake. I gamble enough for the both of us. No, I mean it is, which is it would be odd for me because Jesper and I had a long debate, and I don't recall if you were in chat for that. But Jesper and I had a long debate last Wednesday about last Saturday in the VOR 500 as to what the earliest moment that you should put yourself on a pit strategy is. And so Jesper and Clindy seem to not be thinking everybody can make it, or they think that they can make it now. Jesper, of course, is in a better position than Clindy. Clindy just seems like he wants to lead it, Jacob.
And you got to wonder if he's trying to play a track position game and try to drag people forward with him. There's always that bit of mind games where if I start pushing, then maybe somebody else will push with me. And it looks like we might get a couple takers here because it looks like we're starting to see some people charge their way back towards the front again. But, playing the mind games with other people, there's something to be said for just getting in other people's heads too.
There is. I would play mind games, but I'd play mind games with Clindy. I put a bunch of... as I tell him all the time, I put a whole bunch of psychological stuff in the papers, but I don't know if Clindy can read. Of course, I know Clindy can read. That's a joke, Paula. Don't come after me. But no, I mean, it very much is. There's all sorts of different games that get played in these drafts, especially when everybody's on a fuel number or looking for a fuel number. And one of the guys that you can very easily sometimes bait to get out in front of this deal and burn up all of his gas, that's Marco Brazil. He's a known quantity. He wants to lead, right? So everybody's looking not to be the leader here necessarily, but they're looking at being second.
Yeah, being the first car in line that can maybe do something a little different with their strategy if they get the choice, whereas the guy leading the train's kind of got to commit to just send what happens behind them. I'm, for one, usually a guy to not put my race in other people's hands, so I'm going to always try to play it as safe as possible. I might be, 7th, 8th, 9th car in line for something to happen.
Yeah, and I, again, apologize to the fans out there. The internet here at House Murphy is not playing nicely this evening, but watching the front of this field, Mitch Welker has gone to the lead. I wanted to say Wes Welker. Of course, I'm sure Mitch wouldn't mind being mistaken for a former major leaguer. Has gone to the front to do battle with Marco Brazil. Lilac Zier is 3rd. Clindy is 4th. Jesper Orman is 5th. That's your top 5. We've got battling going on here from 6th to about 10th. That's Matty Sinclair, Logan Edwards, Matt Hollybaugh, Kevin Burrell, the general. He's moved into 9th. Daniel the Cat runs 10th. I still got to think too, as you look down this order toward the back, the Malechkas, the Osters, Akabuezi, Lichtenberg, Sudik, they're still waiting. That group is still keeping their powder dry, saving fuel. They're going to be the ones that make it to the end of this deal. I don't know how Marco Brazil, if he's going to lead, and it appears as though he's trying to pull away. I don't know that he's able to. I don't know that he's able to make it to the end of this thing.
No, and you've got to wonder if maybe he's going to try to play the get out far enough ahead and break that draft to try to gap the field enough to maybe make an extra stop work somehow. You know, sometimes you can latch onto the tail end of the field, stay at least close to, if not on the lead lap, and that could sometimes work out for you in these longer races.
Correct. So the pit delta here, the lap time is 32 seconds. It's about 4 seconds from the front to the back of this draft here. The pit delta here is about 35 seconds. Now Marco is not going to pit lane when he does that. He's going down to the apron to cut distance around the racetrack. He's also trying to pull away from Welker, and you see Mitch Welker, Logan Edwards, Clindy, they are making no move to follow him, are they?
No, it certainly doesn't seem to be the case. So you've got to think that they're kind of letting Brazil do what Brazil's going to do and try to run away from the field and make that gap try to manifest into something. But that also means that the draft is no longer really as effective the further away he gets. So whoever becomes the lead car of that second pack effectively just becomes the leader again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Logan Edwards has decided he's going to try to go reel in Marco Brazil. You see Edwards down on the bottom, right on the roll bar with Mitch Welker. You see Edwards down there on the bottom. He's trying to reel Marco Brazil in. Not quite under a second just yet. And that's the thing about that. That's the thing about that 13. You get him out in front and you let him build up some sort of an advantage, it can be very difficult to catch him again. Now there goes Clindy. He's going to go to the bottom along with Sinclair, Zier, Orman, and others. They're going to go around. Mitch Welker. There goes Alex Van de Zandt in the power slide entry. He's going to drop all the way to the bottom and go around Mitch. And so let's see if let's go back to the front here. Let's see if Clindy. He's going to start mounting the charge up to Brazil. Let's see if Clindy can close that gap. It had gone to 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, that's effectively that point where the draft starts to become less effective as it is, you know, kind of when you break that window in which you're kind of able to save behind cars and lift and stay in their wake and kind of tug you along, if you will. It'll be interesting to see if, you know, Kyle can get some help, maybe swap draft with a car behind him once they start getting closer to him and then maybe regain that ground.
You know, watching the scoring pylon, we're focused in on Alex Van de Zandt, his battle with Logan Edwards, Lilac Zier, and he'll pull forward into Matty Sinclair and Jesper Orman. Clindy has cut that deficit down to 75 hundredths of a second. So he is coming on Marco Brazil. That strategy that Brazil has, and we'll get on the roll bar and ride with Clindy. That strategy that Brazil had to maybe run away and hide, I don't think it's going to quite work. Clinworth is going to get there. He's firmly in the draft envelope. He's running that rogue entry for all it's worth, but Clindy is there now.
Yeah, you've got to wonder if he's just going to close this gap up and then let Brazil do the leading still, if he's going to make that move. And it looks like he's going to take it, so who knows what their call is at this point.
Yeah, and he brought Jesper Orman right on with him. So Clindy goes to the lead. Jesper second. Marco Brazil will be third. Matty Sinclair fourth. Alex Van de Zandt has made his way into the top five. You still have, by the way, that group of veterans from 15th on back. That's Brophy, Taylor, Malechka, Oster, Kraus, Craig, Akabuezi, Lichtenberg, and Sudik. We have not heard from them. The assumption is that they are back there saving fuel. Again, apologize for the internet issues. Those are on me. We're having some weather and some storm issues where I'm at, and so I appreciate everybody's patience. Marco Brazil is in third, but he's going to have his hands full with Matty Sinclair on the bottom, it appears.
Yeah, and we talk about how Marco tends to thrive in clean air and start falling backwards once he gets caught up in a couple cars of dirty air. So it's it's a wonder if the rest of the field kind of is aware of that as much as we are, and that they're trying to maybe bury him back a bit so he can't try to pull that gap again. But it's always interesting to see just from the outset of like what people are trying to do to maybe get a little bit of an edge over everybody's strategy.
It is indeed. We're working lap 43 of 100. 23 laps on the current fuel run for everybody in the field, with some exceptions. There were a group of about 8 drivers that stopped and topped up, so they've got theoretically 1 caution lap more of fuel than the leaders. We do have a distinct group of about 10 cars, and you kind of see them. They're going to be led right here. Well, not led by Brophy. He's kind of looking at the back of the main pack. Robert Malechka is kind of leading the group of the the guys that aren't really going anywhere. This crew is saving fuel. They are 0.7 of a second behind Matt Taylor. We got a crash. Caution on the speedway. It's going to be Daniel Durazo.
Caution is out.
Hard impacts. Durazo, Kevin Burrell involved. Nick Sudik. And let's see what has happened to Daniel the Cat. He was having a tremendous run. All right, so here we go, and that's the problem in these packs. Watch Daniel Durazo. Daniel the Cat is in the Corona entry. He's got Tristan Fortson and Kevin Burrell right behind him. AJ Musselman, Matty Sinclair to the front, and just watch what happens here, Jacob. They're in the draft. They're running along. Sinclair checks up. He gets in the wall a little bit. Musselman checks up. Nowhere for Durazo to go, nowhere for Fortson to go, nowhere for O'Meara. That appears to be Logan Edwards, Kevin Burrell, a whole host of good cars involved there. It appears as though that's Tristan. Is it Fortson? That's Tristan Fortson going for a wild ride. And if you want to see something crazy, we're going to get on board with Brendan Lichtenberg and ride on his roll hoop as he navigates this mess. Now watch, this is how little time you have, and this is at 1/3 speed. You see the cars start to crash, get up in the air, start bouncing around. That's where the camera glitched, and there's Lichtenberg, and he's hard on the brakes. He's already down to first gear. That's how slow he got to pick his way through the accident. And that does kind of play hard into this group of guys, Malechka, Oster, and Kraus, who have been saving the fuel. They stayed out. They're going to become the leaders. Everybody else comes down the pit lane. So we've got more split strategies here, Jacob.
Yeah, I just kind of want to comment on the incident there, and it's one of those things that happens all too often when you're kind of working in a big line towards the upper end of the track there. But when like one car clips the wall, you just kind of end up in essentially a giant accordion effect of one car checks up, and the last car that doesn't check up is the first one to hit it, and then you're kind of off to the races there. But it'll be interesting to see if the fuel save overlap there for Rob and the rest of the gaggle that kind of was committed to that save. You running deep in the field there is able to turn something into that coming off the next pit sequence here. How long it takes them to materialize what they were working on that entire middle run there.
Well, it appears as though it's not going to matter. Malechka, Sudik, Oster, Kraus have all decided that they're gonna come to pit lane, and they're playing games to see who's going to be the last one off a pit road. You see Oster and Kraus there. Of course, everybody that runs these races, and this is something that we probably don't talk about as much as we should. Everybody who runs these races, we're all extremely familiar with one another. Most of these guys race each other every night, be it in one of the broadcasted top split races here on P1, in leagues like the ISRA, which we have coming later on tonight. Immediately following this, you'll see Clindy and I race in that one. You've got the Tuesday night top split that happens tomorrow night on P1 at 8:15 Eastern. You've got the Horizon League, that's Wednesday nights at 8. The Votive League, that's going to take place on Sunday nights. They're going to start alternating with Dark Horse. So you're going to have your pick, Collins. You can do IR18s one Sunday and DW12s the next. How about that?
Yeah, and it's nice to see like league collaboration like that, bouncing off each other through the community like that, help get people interested in more than just whatever they may have seen already. It's good to see.
100%, and that's the thing is, these guys, as we go back to green, we're going to show it from the low angle. There goes Marco Brazil. He's going to jump into the lead over Jesper Orman. Clindy is third, Van de Zandt fourth. Lilac Zier has maintained her position. She is fifth, but the front four have the break. Marco Brazil goes straight for the lead. He's going to have Jesper Orman, Kyle Clinworth, and Alex Van de Zandt right behind him. And here comes Van de Zandt. He's going to go by Clindy. He's going to go by Jesper, and he's going to switch lanes and try to go right by Marco Brazil here. What a power move from the purple and white power slide car.
Yeah, it looked like he was just shot down out of a cannon down the backstretch, trying to make the most of whatever run he built up off the corner there. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to stay committed to just running behind Brazil here, or if he's going to try to make another shot at it coming into 3.
Oh, he's taking another shot at it. He's going to go right down to the bottom. He's going to make it past Marco, and here comes Jesper. Jesper is going to pull up short, though. He's going to stop. Clindy is going to stop, and so move Van de Zandt to the lead. Brazil second, and are they going to start playing the swap games, or is Alex going to defend here? The answer is they're going to play the swap. There goes Brazil to the bottom. Van de Zandt stays high. Orman stays third. So these guys are kind of content here to do the status quo and stay ahead of everybody else. Remember, this does kind of calm that pack down if the leaders are swapping. Meanwhile, the nearest battle for position is going to be way in the back, and we're talking about like Matt Taylor, Jason Brophy. Everybody else is more or less single file here.
Yeah, you've got to wonder with this potentially longer run having to break it up. I don't know. I don't believe they can make it on gas almost no matter how much they save at this point. So there's going to be at least one more stop here at some point. But it's then becomes the game of who pits first, who pits last, overcut, undercut, trying to make the most of who you pit with as well, especially being able to swap, gain some time that way. You got to have people around you that you can trust to do that, for one, and for two, they got to all come down at the same time. So you got to be roughly on the same mileage for fuel.
That's 100% right. And the thing that gets you here is there are ways that both the undercut, which is stopping early, and the overcut, which is staying out late, can be a benefit here. And you're going to have two different schools of thought that are going to try to work it. The guys that are up front, Brazil, Van de Zandt, Orman, Clindy, those guys are most likely going to be on the undercut. They're going to be stopping first. They're up there burning the most fuel. We know Marco is for certain sure. But Van de Zandt too, these guys are burning more fuel than, let's say, Kraus, Oster, Malechka, Lichtenberg, Craig, Akabuezi, and Sudik, the guys that are at the very back. And so what winds up happening is Zandt, Brazil, these people at the front, Lilac Zier, they want to stop as soon as the window opens and go as fast as possible. So you'd be looking at them somewhere around anywhere after lap 65 comfortably. Okay? Collins, the other thing that you could see here is the overcut. So the overcut is going to be the group that's riding around in the back, Malechka on back. That crew is going to try to stay out as long as possible. And what you want to do here at California or Michigan is, as the cars in front of you pit, you use the draft, and then once everybody pits, then you go as hard as possible. And they're going to try to make the last stop as short as humanly possible. Marco Brazil almost got in the side of Lilac Zier there.
Yeah, and it looks like that accordion effect is starting to get a bit more dramatic here as the laps click off here. You got to wonder if, people are getting a little impatient coming through trying to get to a spot where they feel comfortable with the cars around them. So when time comes to hit the pit lane, that they've got, people they can trust to make a couple swap drafts, try to gain time, however they're trying to work into their strategy, they gotta have the people they can trust.
They do, and speaking of people they can trust, Marco Brazil goes back to the lead, but there's a lime green and black car that has made its way up toward the front. That's Jason Brophy. That is one of the Hyperslide cars, so that's a team car to Alex Van de Zandt. And you always have to be mindful of the teammate affiliations when you get into one of these races. Because let's face it, it is very difficult to win one of these races, Jacob, by yourself. It's always helpful to have a friend around you. Jesper Orman has one in Kyle Clinworth. Alex Van de Zandt now has one in Jason Brophy.
Yeah, it takes two to tango. You got to have another car to work with to make a swap draft work. And, the more familiar you are with being able to time your runs, direct communication, I'm going to take it here, the kind of the quips that you throw at each other to know when to take runs, when not to, line things back up. It's invaluable, really.
It is indeed, and you see it there. Marco Brazil would have normally gone right by Alex Van de Zandt. Van de Zandt has started to move up higher. He's going to use up Brazil on that high line, and then he's going to slide right underneath Jason Brophy. And I'd bet you a shiny new dime that Brophy's going to slide up and not let Brazil go around that top side. Or he's going to force him out wide enough where he can't.
Yeah, the less room you've got to stick your car between the car in front of you and the wall, that's about where you want to be putting people, would be my thought anyway. But it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic changes over the course of the next 30, 40 laps here.
It would be, but right now it would seem the Hyperslide teammates, the Brophy and Van de Zandt, it would seem to me that they're sitting in the catbird seat awfully close there. Across the nose goes Van de Zandt on Marco Brazil. And as we get closer to these final stops, and the window is about to open in 5 laps or so. Well, really, it could be open in 3 laps. But as the window begins to open, these moves to get toward the front, they're going to become that much more desperate. Orman goes around Brazil now. He's into 3rd. Here comes Zier. She's going to run into 4th, almost against the wall, I like Zier, but she's going to make it. Whew. Starting to get chippy and dicey. 3 wide back here. That's Matt Hollybaugh, the All-American iRacers entry. He's going to bring it up to the inside of Clindy.
Yeah, it appears the ants are fully in people's pants at this point, trying to make the most of the runs they get, because, the further to the front you are, the less cars that you have to potentially check up for in a situation where cars are pitting, especially larger groups that they tend to fan out coming to the apron. Being able to put yourself in a spot where you're not having to check up maybe as much, depending on where you are. You kind of want to stay away from the bottom and the corners. You never know when people are going to make that call. Some people do it later than others, and just the constant battles.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all about positioning yourself here within the next 10 laps to get on the pit lane. Van de Zandt goes back to lead. We're watching Hollybaugh battle Logan Edwards. That's Mitch Welker in there, Matty Sinclair. The battle for the lead continues amongst Orman, Van de Zandt, Brophy. Marco Brazil has now dropped back to 4th place. He's got Clindy on the outside. And for Marco Brazil, he's facing the situation he doesn't want to be in, Jacob, which is with a trimmed out car be stuck back in traffic.
Yeah, and you had to wonder if it was a matter of when and not if that was going to happen once you started getting some of these teammates working together. You've got Brophy and Van de Zandt and Orman and Clinworth, and there's probably a couple others that'll maybe start making their slow creep towards the front here, and he may end up just completely buried by the end of this.
If I know Marco, and I've raced against Marco quite a bit, he's going to hit pit road just about as soon as the window opens, put both 4 tires on that sucker, and try to get himself some clean air. The pack now is a lot closer than it was earlier. It's about 3 seconds from nose to tail. That's Van de Zandt leading. Sudik is 18th. Musselman, O'Meara, Durazo, Fortson, and Burrell are out of the race. that is positions 19th through 23rd. And so, thinking about it as we watch Brophy go by Van de Zandt again, but as you think about it, that's going to be his play. He might be able to come out, get in clean air, and then claw himself ahead using the draft of the cars in front. Kind of like what Malechka, Oster, Kraus, and this crew plan on doing. These guys back here have been super committed to this strategy of just riding in the back and waiting. Oster went from the back to the front in 10 laps earlier?
It was no more than a dozen. It was about as soon as we started noticing he was heading towards the front, he was there. So,
yeah, I don't anticipate that this group is gonna be back there much longer. Now would be the time for them to start fighting their way forward. Speaking of them fighting their way forward, Marco Brazil has fallen to 7th. He's got Hollybaugh and Welker behind Logan Edwards looking at him. We're watching this battle. The 13 does not seem to be enjoying hot tires and low downforce here at California.
Nope, and as we certainly pointed out on a couple occasions now, that's the risky run with having your car that trimmed out, is when you get caught up behind another car, you're not able to make that less downforce work quite as well, because you don't have anything to turn with after a point, and we're seeing that kind of pay its dividends now.
Yeah, he's going to be a rocket by himself, but he's not going to be all that good in traffic. Speaking of good in traffic, there's a group that is doing swimmingly well in traffic. Looking at Jesper Orman in 3rd, Lilac Zier is 4th, Alex Van de Zandt is 2nd. Zandt's going to get the run down the back on Jason Brophy, catapult Van de Zandt back to the lead, and the window is open for pit stops. You got to wonder when guys are going to start making that dive toward the pit lane. The time for business to pick up is getting there. They can go about another 15 laps, Collins. The question is, do they want to?
Well, you've got to wonder if they think that there's going to be a late yellow potentially in the pit cycle. That as skilled as drivers are, there's always a chance for somebody to miss their pit in, lock it up, maybe spin through the grass, end up back on the track. Things can happen, that not that you're going to count your whole race on other people's misfortunes, but there's a lot that could still happen with 20 or 30 laps, even in just the fuel cycle alone.
There is. Looking at Logan Edwards, he is 8th. Battling Matt Hollybaugh there for 9th, Mitch Welker for 10th. Marco Brazil is 7th, although Logan Edwards would like to have that spot. And I kind of keep coming back to, the undercut can be very effective here. If you're up toward the front, pull that thing into pit lane and start using the draft to slingshot your way forward. If you can catch the back of the pack, you can come out with a huge lead once the cycle's over. You got to wonder if somebody's going to gamble. So far, nobody's done so. Lap 70 of 100 goes up. 31 laps to go here at the virtual Fontana. Do want to thank everybody for watching, by the way. We do have a huge number of people on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Daniel the Cat checking in the chat. Thank you so much for being with us. Our apologies that your night ended early. He's been going fast and having a good time recently. I had the occasion to race with him at the votive race at Texas last night, and he was mighty quick, Jacob.
Yeah, it's always an honor and a pleasure to share the track with Mr. Durazo, and we hope to catch him back here later this week, later tonight. Wherever he ends up, it's always a pleasure to have him around.
Most certainly is. We're going to flip back to the front. We've got Ryan O'Donoghue. This is the second night in a row that Ryan O'Donoghue has tuned in to an IndyCar race here on P1. He, of course, is one of the featured drivers in the American Motorsports Association, the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series that we show every Thursday and Friday night. Myself and Sam Crow on the calls on that. Ryan O'Donoghue checking in, talking about these cars and the strategy game and how intriguing it is. Make me want to find your way into an open wheel week. Well, we got him if you want him, Ryan. And not you. You're right. Marco is typically the first to enter pit lane. I would have thought he would have already come in. The window is open. And it seems right for Marco to gamble, but he is remaining on the speedway. He is 7th. Brophy and Van de Zandt continue to swap the lead, 1 and 2. Jesper Orman 3rd. Lilac Zier remains firmly ensconced in 4th, and Clindy is going to round out your top 5. A good run for Clindy. Normally a fixed oval guy. He's in here in the Open Series for the oval, part of that Rogue Racing squad. Of course, Jesper Orman on that team. Yourself, Jacob. So the Open setup ain't looking too bad here either, is it?
No, and it sounded like Kyle was pretty confident, and he was hopeful to have Jesper in here to be able to make a charge at, being able to make some swaps, work together, work their way towards the front. It'll be interesting to see when they or anybody else decides to pit, how many cars do they get working together, because, strength in numbers and all that. You see it just about everywhere on the super speedways and the NASCAR stuff, and it's kind of no different here. You just don't have the quite the pushy, shovey part of it. You've got, bit more of a dance to it.
Yeah, there is a dance, Ryan. We do not bump draft in an IndyCar. You can't do that. So, but this is very similar to something that a stock car driver would have experienced at Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega. It's just there's no touching involved. But it's very strategic in the draft, and the runs you get here are huge. Let's hop on board with Lilac Zier, because I have a feeling Lilac is going to go to the lead here. She's in 6th gear, the pink and black TMR machine, and you're looking right there at 225 miles an hour. At the peak of that draft, they might hit 230. But, Lilac just looking, I don't know if she's looking for track position or if she actually wants to lead this thing. But the closing rates here are tremendous. You'll top out at 222 maybe down the straight. If somebody wants to really go past you right there, the closing rate can be 10, 15 miles an hour. There goes Jesper, and Jesper is going to go to the lead on Alex Van de Zandt.
That looked really tight from Jesper coming into 1 and 2 there. At Van de Zandt and him and Jesper were basically all the way down to that bottom lane, more or less, right alongside of each other. So, as you say, the closing rate's fast, but it's almost too fast in some cases. Where we've
got takers. Robert Malechka III is coming into the pit lane. Malechka is going to be the first to blink. He just came down to the pit lane. We're going to watch Van de Zandt, and we're going to continue to watch. Caution is on the racetrack. We've got Maddie Sinclair up on top of the wall. Marco Brazil has a broken front wing. And so you know what that's going to do. Lilac Zier also involved. But you know what that's going to do here, don't you? That's going to put RM3 in the lead, because he's not going to lose a lap on this.
Not at all. You almost had to wonder if he knew in the back of his head something was coming with, just that tension building, getting closer and closer to the pit window. And you hate to see it.
You do. Marco Brazil just understeered badly in traffic, got into the side of Lilac Zier. Poor Maddie Sinclair had nowhere to go there. So 3 more cars out of the race. Brazil is going to get back going again, sans the front wing. But I have to believe that the damage on that IR18 is probably terminal. You can see the wheel at a very unnatural angle there from the onboard. Tough break for Marco Brazil. Again, just understeered up into Lilac Zier, and that's going to likely be all she wrote for Marco. That's going to put Clindy in the lead. Somehow Clinworth was ahead during all of that. He was the guy that was ahead at the last timing loop when all of that went down. We're going to see everybody come into the pit lane. We're going to see everybody come into the pit lane, Jacob, except my guess is Robert Malechka.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to come back in and top off at this point. I think he packed it in all he needs to pack it in. It's whether or not he maybe wants his friends by him. That'd be the only thing that I could think, would call him back in. But you got to think he's going to inherit this lead here, and business as usual. We're
gonna see whether or not my information holds. So I was talking to some of the Indy Alliance guys. They thought that this race with the weather right now 75 on the air temp, 110 on the track. So not necessarily a warm race here at Fontana. Most of these cars and teams have been massaging their Fontana and Michigan setups for a very long time. There are some massive league races that are held on those two tracks, and so you got to kind of think that they know what they've got. My guys seem to think that it was going to be very difficult to pass somebody on the bottom that was determined to hold that bottom. If that's the case, Malechka is going to be in the catbird seat, and he's got a friend right behind him in Alex Van de Zandt. Those two guys have been racing together for a long, long time.
Yeah, the old white line wrapper, as we kind of lovingly and maybe perhaps unlovingly refer to it in the community, of being able to just kind of stick that bottom lane, and any car that wants to make the attempt has to make it on the high side the long way around, and that's a tough spot to make work, especially when you don't have much help to get there. Now,
you can make it work. Let's not think for a minute that you can't make it work, because it is possible to pass somebody around the top here. I've done it. It's not easy. You have to build the run just right, and it's almost one of those things where you have to build the run just right and nip them at the line somehow. But the top side line will surge ahead at the end of the straightaway. So you just got to time it so that you can make that move. The neat thing here too is with 20 laps to go, we're going to get the green flag coming to get 19. Jacob, tire wear is going to play into this final run. It's not going to be a situation where you're going to be able to run on top of the guy in front of you for the entire run. They're going to start to give up by the time this is over.
Yeah, that's always got something you keep in the back of your head with a run that's a bit longer than when the tires are kind of fresh and new. Depending on the track, you can get a couple more laps out of them, just full tilt. But place like here, you kind of need all you can for as long as you can, and when you don't have it, you don't got it anymore, and then you start to sink. So you got to play your tires smart.
The other thing that I'm looking at is Oster, Kraus, Lichtenberg, Sadiq, Hamilton, Akabuezi, Rashad Craig, positions 10th through 15th. Those are all veterans in big team cars, and they have not yet even attempted to make their way to the front. We're going to go ahead and get up in the flag stand with Barney. The pace car is going to duck on off. Do want to thank everybody out there watching. If you haven't done so, make sure you smash the like button on the video. Ring the bell to subscribe to P1 Broadcasting. We know that about half of you have not done so, and that is huge for us as we continue to bring you night after night of quality iRacing action. Tonight it's the INDYCAR Open Top Split from virtual Fontana. We're on the 2.5-mile oval. Robert Malechka III gets the break over Alex Van de Zandt and Kyle Clinworth. Jason Brophy 4th. Jesper Orman is 5th. We're 3 wide at the front, and we're also going to be 4 wide here at the back. Phil Kraus there on the bottom. We're going to leave the battle for the lead for just a second. Phil Kraus on the bottom. Oster right behind him. You've got Matt Taylor, Mitch Welker, and Nick Sadiq in that mess. You also have Hamilton Akabuezi back there, and Rashad Craig is bringing up the caboose. This is a fast group of guys, and they have not yet tried to make it toward the front of the field. They are also in danger of losing the draft. Oster 1.2 seconds behind the front. These guys need to get organized, or this is going to be right where they finish.
Yeah, it looks like Rob kind of waited until the absolute last moment to get get this race back underway. So you almost have to wonder if maybe there's a couple cars that got caught out trying to go too early, maybe ended up going a little later than they might have intended to. Brought in a slight gap in the field, but if the battle at the front keeps getting as dicey as it is, I don't think it's going to be too long before that backpack catches back up.
Yeah, here comes. We see the purple car there. He is coming, and Phil is coming. The battle at the front. Klindy. He's on the outside. Malechka in the middle. Orman on the bottom. Matt Hollybaugh has made his way up to 4th. He's going to go for 3rd on Kyle Clinworth. Brophy and Van de Zandt 4th and 5th. Teammates to Malechka. Phil Kraus now sets the fastest lap. He's decided to get his boot in it. We're going to go 4 wide at the front for the lead.
And the vice grip tightens as fast as the cars are going. Honestly, at this point, it seems basically every corner, every straight, there's somebody trying to make something to something.
Most certainly is. 3 wide still. Orman on the bottom. That's Malechka in the middle. Klindy is the tall one at the top. Kraus, Brophy, and Van de Zandt, those are all Hyperslide cars, all teammates to Robert Malechka. They've more or less formed the second row for just a moment. You got Matt Hollybaugh. He's trying to throw it up there on the bottom. And somehow Hamilton Akabuezi has made his way up to 10th in this mess. And now you've got all 15 cars covered with a blanket.
Yeah, it was a matter of time, and here they all are. If you're still in this race, you stand every chance of winning it, and that's the glorious thing when it comes to these kind of more drafty tracks, where as long as you still got an engine in it and can keep all the tires and the wings on it, you can go for it at the end.
You know, you most certainly can, and don't think for a moment that a guy like Rashad Craig couldn't win this race. Good friend, teammate of mine. He and I ran 1-2 here, coming from the back in a 20-lap dash. So that guy in the 17 machine is plenty capable of running that baby up here and getting to the front still. But he's going to have to go through a mess. You see the black and green car I'm talking about. He's made it around Matt Taylor. He's going to pull even with Nick Sudik. He's come from 15th. He's hunting 12th. Oh, we've got trouble. 3 cars hard in the wall. Hollybaugh, Clinworth, 4 cars. Welker, Malechka spinning like a top through turn 2. Caution is out on the speedway with 13 laps to go here at Fontana. That's going to be Klindy and Malechka. That's 2 cars going for 1 bit of real estate. And then Matt Hollybaugh at the same time, he has contact with Phil Kraus. Those 3 cars hard in the wall. Mitch Welker gets catapulted up into the fence. I don't know that we want to get on board with Rob to show what that looks like from inside of the cockpit, but a huge impact for him. I do want to get on board with Brendan Lichtenberg, because once again, he's going to provide us with the best pictures in the house. Here's Lichtenberg. He's on the top. He's running about 13th here. There goes the front wing, and all those cars start collecting up at the top. Lichtenberg is going to phase through Robert Malechka. Paula, you're right. The luck ran out. Everybody got too close. Caution on the speedway. 4 more fast cars are not going to make the end. We've really got 11 remaining. Matt Hollybaugh has made it back around.
No, I'm actually pretty dead right now.
Matt Hollybaugh is pretty dead right now. That is Matt Hollybaugh in the booth.
Hi guys.
Sorry that the car looks. Well, now that I get a closer look at it, you're driving a tricycle. What'd you see?
I'm just logging laps.
Yeah, what'd you see there?
Yeah, so I got a middle 3 wide call when I don't believe I had a car outside. So I left room for a non-existent car, and everyone died.
Indeed, everyone died. It almost looked like 2 separate incidents. You had Klindy and Malechka there making contact, and then separate from that, you and Phil. Tough break. Look forward to seeing you. Look forward to seeing you next week. Beautiful looking hot rod. You gave it a ride, but just not enough. I don't want to ask what position the wheel is in, do I?
Actually, it's straight. My right front corner is just completely detached, so that doesn't influence steering at all, and the left side is fine.
Not necessarily.
So, yeah.
Not necessarily detached, Matt. We're watching on board. It's actually folded under.
Yeah.
So it's still there, just so you're aware.
It ain't steering.
It's not doing much, but it is still attached to the car via the tether. So we're going to reset the field for our fans, and we do have a lot of people out there watching. Do want to thank everybody for tuning it in. Just as a reminder, go ahead and smash the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe. We know about half of you out there do not do that, and it would be a huge fill up for us if you did. We are on the quest for 1,000, and if we get to 1,000, that only means great things for these drivers that are putting on a showcase tonight. Moves them up higher in the YouTube algorithm, which in turn puts more eyeballs in the sim racing game, and so we definitely do appreciate that. Got to thank Whiplash Simcams, all of our support, all of our league supporters, the ISRA, Mike Rigney. Those guys and gals are setting to go set to go tonight at 9:40 here on the P1 Broadcasting Network. They are going to extend practice for 10 minutes just to let some of the drivers that are going to be in this race attend that one. Tomorrow night, of course, we have the IndyCar Top Split. That's at 8:15 Eastern Standard. And so Gary Godso, Stephen Larkamp, and Justin Petschauer, LGN will all be in the booth for that one. It's an all-star affair. Wednesday night, we'll have the Horizon IndyCar Series. That's going to be at 8 o'clock, and they are going to be at one of my favorite tracks. Jacob, that's Twin Ring Motegi.
Oh, it's one of my favorites too, Mark. Every opportunity I get to either watch racing or drive at that track, it's just fantastic.
It is. Kyle Clinworth has joined us in the booth. He is listening to the call. Clindy, you got any? It looked like you had something for him, just not quite, my friend.
Yeah, Jesper and I have the two fastest race cars on the track today. Rogue Racing has an awesome setup. I'm so heartbroken for Rob. He puts a lot of time and effort into his setups, just as much as me and Jesper do. It's coming back green here, and he's got a real good shot to win this race. So we'll see if he or Rob's teammate Phil Kraus can bring this home for us that have unfortunately DNF'd today.
Yeah, and we've got the green flag about to go in Barney's hand. Logan Edwards is your leader. Phil Kraus is second. Jesper Orman third. Van de Zandt fourth. Brophy fifth. Sudik Akabuezi, Lichtenberg, Taylor, Oster make up your top 10. Those are the only automobiles that are left run. Well, Matt Hollybaugh is still out there, as is Rashad Craig. So 12 cars. Hollybaugh, though, is steering the tricycle as they come through. So he'll go back to 12th. The battle is going to be at the front, Jacob. Jacob, it's going to be between Kraus and Edwards. Kraus is going to grab the lead off of Logan Edwards, and here comes Alex Van de Zandt, Jesper Orman, and I don't think it'd be a bad bet to say it's not going to be long before P3 and P4 are P2 and P3.
No, you got to think that they're ready to pounce as soon as there's an opportunity. Especially the more time they spend fighting, the more cars that could potentially get into the battle for the lead here. And you'd rather fight maybe 2 or 3 cars as opposed to 5 or 6, I would think.
I would much rather fight none, especially if they're as fast as these guys. Orman, he's going to climb to the high side. He'll put Van de Zandt in the middle. Very nearly contact there, but they're 3 wide for the lead. Brophy has snuck into the picture. He's going to be 5th. Logan Edwards, though, he wants to make it 4 wide on the top.
And just as soon as you see it, they're all back in the game, because we're starting to get, Hamilton Akabuezi coming back through here. I think Sudik's mounting another charge here, so I don't think it'll be too long before we have everybody right back in it. Yeah, you're going to be able to put all these cars under a blanket here in about 3 laps. Orman, he's going to climb back to the top side. 3x3, it looks like the start of the Indianapolis 500, but we're at Fontana, and they are doing a hot 225 miles an hour. Inches apart, going to make it 5 wide. Here comes Oster. Complete wall of cars in front of Sudik. It gets harder and harder to find a spot to put your car when there's just cars all over the place in front of you.
Jacob Oster is one of those guys. He will ride that baby right up on the fence. They're going to go 5 wide again momentarily. Oster backs out of it. He's going to go to the middle. Here comes Lichtenberg. He's going to make it to row 2. Rashad Craig goes around Matt Taylor. He wants a piece of this. Are we going to get 6 wide? Close. I don't think they can fit 6 in there, but they're certainly going to try it. Oster, he's going to switch lanes, go all the way from the top down to the bottom. Power move. He's going to go 4 wide on the bottom. Orman, he's going to go to the top. Now we're 3x3 again.
Ride that wave of momentum from the top of the wave to the bottom of it, all the way around. Coming to, 3 to go here?
We're going to come to get 4 to go. Brendan Lichtenberg, he's going to go to the very top of the speedway. Lichtenberg, he'll make it 4 wide. Make Brendan Lichtenberg, can he make a charge up there? It doesn't quite get there, but he's got some help. He's got Brendan Lichtenberg, he's got Oster up there. He's got a very fast Rashad Craig. Orman, he's going to pop out 3 wide again going down the back.
You could barely fit sheets of paper between these cars with how close together they are, seemingly. Every straight, every corner. They're fighting for about every inch you can give them, and probably then some. We're We're thankful for the iRacing netcode gods for giving us the spectacular spectacle on our screens.
Yeah, they're wanting to make it 6 wide, guys. They are so close to doing it.
They're trying. They're trying. From the bottom to the top, going into turn 1 that time, it was Kraus, Van de Zandt, Orman, Akabuezi, and Lichtenberg. They had it 5. They're trying to get 6. They could make it 6 if one of them would use the apron, but they're not there yet. Absolute wild scenes. 2014 all over in. Hard accident. It's Oster and Orman. Brophy has a piece of that too. 3 to go. That's going to be the race. Phil Kraus.
It's like Philip Kraus, yeah.
It's either going to be Kraus or Van de Zandt, depending on who is going to cross the line first. Let's go back and look at that one more time, boys. Whew. You knew it had to happen as close as they were running together. You knew it had to happen. You were hoping it didn't. But they're 5 wide. That's from the bottom. Kraus, Van de Zandt, Oster, Orman. Oster and Orman come together straight up into Jason Brophy. Rashad Craig is going to go around. We have got to go back and watch Matt Taylor.
I also want to say shout out to Nick Sudik there for surviving that. Like, he had horrendous luck all last season, and he's pulling out a good result out of this one.
I want our fans to look at the onboard from Matt Taylor here, because here he is. He's running along. You're only doing a 223, 224 miles an hour. Watch the car of Jesper Orman. Just straight under him.
My goodness, that was like Ryan Preece at Daytona in the 500 earlier this year.
Matt Taylor said the racer's prayer, and it was answered. He said, "Stay up there." And so we're going to get back on the lead here. Phil Kraus is going to win it. Alex Van de Zandt is going to be second. Hamilton Akabuezi will be credited with third. Brendan Lichtenberg fourth. And Collins, wasn't I talking about Rashad Craig and how he was going to kind of be a sleeper in this one?
And he's right here at the end of it with a top 5 finish. He called it.
That's right. Nick Sudik, he's going to bring home a great result. Finally a race that Nicholas did not get caught up in an accident, not of his own making. He's had a wild string of those, so good to see Sudik bring it home 6th. Logan Edwards is going to be 7th. Matt Taylor is going to be 8th. Marco Brazil has brought his machine back onto the racetrack. He'll be credited with 16th. But there's the man right there, Phil Kraus. Just to let everybody know, we will do abbreviated interviews just so that we can showcase the guys who want to join the booth. We'll talk to them very briefly because there is another race this evening immediately following this one. Gary Gatso, Luis Gonzalez Nunez are going to have the ISRA INDYCAR Series from Indianapolis, and that is the series finale of the inaugural Open Wheel Series. Here comes Phil Kraus. He's going to grab the checkered flag. Private label Team Hype power slide entry for Phil Kraus. He'll cross the line. And Jacob, that got wild, but it also was fun to watch.
And that's the spectacular thing that was Auto Club. Every time we come here, there's always a spectacular run to the finish, and you'd like to see it go green all the way to the end, but you certainly can't sneeze at what we saw tonight.
Yeah, obviously, I wish I had a better result, but that was also just spectacular fun from the cockpit.
Yeah, it was spectacular to watch. Phil Kraus is going to be your winner. Alexander Van de Zandt is second. Hamilton Akabuezi is going to round out your podium. Brendan Lichtenberg, he'll bring it home 4th. Rashad Craig will finish 5th for Indy Alliance Racing. Nick Sudik debuts his new colors in 6th. Logan Edwards 7th. Matt Taylor 8th. Jason Brophy is going to be credited with 9th. Jesper Orman rounds out your top 10. In 11th, Jacob Oster. Matt Hollybaugh, poor guy, lost the entire right front corner. He'll be given 12th. Robert Maleska III.
I'm a spooky ghost.
Robert Maleska III sits on the front row, had it in position for a great result. Unfortunate contact with Kyle Clinworth. Sees those two finish 13th and 14th. Mitch Walker involved in that incident as well. He'll be 15th. Marco Brazil, Matty Sinclair, Lilac Zier, AJ Musselman, and Mohamed Omir. They will finish 16th through 20th. In 21st, Daniel the Cat Durazo. 22nd, Tristan Fortson. And shotgun on the field, the General, last season's champion, does not get his title defense started in a. He does not get the title defense started off in a grand fashion. He'll be credited with 23rd and last on the day. Get some interview footage queued up here. All right. Who do we have anybody in the interview area there, Mr. Collins?
I am not seeing anyone yet.
All right. Well, we will.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys, but I'm going to go ahead and head out. You both have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for broadcasting this. It looks like Phil just joined, by the way.
You know, and that would be a catch for us because Phil Kraus usually does not join us. So we're going to get Phil into the booth here in just a moment. All right, let's get the winner up here. Phil, you've got Mark and Jacob Collins in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy, sir?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Phil. That was a wild ending. Kind of talk us through your strategy. You hung out in the back, you got to the front, and kind of tell us how you did it tonight.
Yeah, it was one of the classic 2.5 mile races, especially when it's not like smoldering hot on the ambient or track temp. It's so packed up that there's really no point in doing anything like the first 80 laps of the race. And if you get a late caution, you're in the lead, you can just paint the white line and nobody can really do anything about it. So, got lucky with Rob and Clendy ending up not coding each other. That put me in the lead, and then I just painted the white line. That's all that really happened.
Yeah. Kudos to you and kudos to you on the dub. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. We've got an abbreviated session tonight because I have a race to go get to. So friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. The floor is yours, sir.
Just everyone at Power Slide Motorsports and Team Hype. That's all I got. Appreciate everything they do week in, week out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Phil. I'm sure you'll win again and be back. So thank you so much. And you have an awesome rest of your day. All right, my man. Keep going fast and having fun.
Yep, you too.
Yes, sir. That's Phil Kraus. He joins us from Winner's Circle, and I guess the motto here tonight is don't race until you got a race. Phil Kraus comes from the back, wins it. Jacob, any final thoughts from virtual California?
It seemed like everybody was in such a hurry to get home, Mark. They missed out on the fun.
Yeah. No joke. Do want to thank everybody for their patience with the stream. We had some connectivity issues. There were some storms in my area, and I understand the screen may have been misaligned, so it doesn't show that way on my end, but do want to thank everybody for their patience. Do want to also thank all the drivers, the competitors, the fans that make this so special. We are going to be back here every Monday night for P1 broadcasting and the INDYCAR Open Top Split. Clendy will be joining me for the road courses. Mr. Collins is going to do the ovals, and so we look forward to bringing you more quality iRacing action from the Indy Open Series and the P1 Broadcasting Network. Also, do want to thank all of our friends, family, sponsors, everybody who makes the show go here. Whiplash SimCams, all the leagues, Horizon, ISRA, Votive, Dark Horse, all the leagues that support the P1 Broadcasting Network. Want to thank them. And then finally, do want to give a shout out to all the first responders, the firefighters, the military, the police, all the people that do the hard jobs at night so that we can lay our heads down on the pillow and sleep soundly. We thank you. Good night from virtual California,